So firstly, thanks so much everybody for joining today. It's really great to have you all here. Just to give you a bit of an overview of what's going to happen today, I'm going to introduce Patricia from Roboss, the CEO at Roboss, and Baris, who is from Hotelchamp, and both Patricia and Baris are going to present to you today about building a diversified distribution strategy and looking at both the B2B and the B2C kind of approach for that distribution strategy. They'll do a little bit more of an introduction of themselves before they kick into their presentations. But just a little bit of housekeeping to start with beforehand. If you have a question at any time during the presentations, both Patricia and Baris are open to answering these during their presentations. So please just write the little your question in the Q&A section down below, and we'll read them out during the webinar. Cool. Nice. I am going to pass over now to Baris, who's going to kick off the webinar.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're based. I'm Baris. I work as a Hotelchamp at Hotelchamp as the business development in Europe. So today we're going to talk about, Patricia and me, we're going to talk about building a diversified distribution strategy. I'm going to focus on the B2C elements, and Patricia will look at the B2B elements. So just to give you a short agenda of what we're going to talk about today, it's going to be the B2C fundamentals. We're going to make a snapshot of what happens in the last decades or so in the B2C channel. And given the fact that we are progressing intensively and exponentially, how we can make travel in terms of BTC as a fully e-commerce platform and a site. And finally, I'm going to talk about 4 website truths that I'm sure that you all are aware of and know, but still hasn't acted upon. And we're going to end with an Oscar as well, so we can crack on. Victoria, if I can get the next slide, please. So we all are living under the COVID right now, unfortunately, for the last 2 years. Even we in the travel sector, we're not able to travel like anybody else. But even without COVID, we are now living in a different area right now. So what do I mean by that? In the 1950s, when the hotel was there was only the hotel and a couple of travel agents, and there was a single touch point. You were calling the hotel, making the reservation, everything was fine. Customer, they didn't really care about the customer as much as they do right now. And currently, and then the electronic distribution started, as you all know, the beginning of 2000s. The OTA supremacy came to power. We all remember the reservations we were taking via fax booking to booking.com. Now in the 2020s, and it exponentially increased its importance after COVID, is the customer-centric journey of the traveler. So currently the customers, they want to feel personally connected to brands. And it is not very surprising that across the hotel industry, the brands are exploring ways to develop stronger customer relationships with their potential travelers as well. What was happening in the last decade is the hoteliers have given a very much significance in their customer guest relations. Let it be collecting reviews for the each sites, making it sure that they are very happy during their stay. But what we have missed out is the customer journey begins not when they book the hotel and they stay at the hotel. The customer journey begins when they land on your web page and the information they get from your web page. So today, right now, more than ever, the hotel guests will define a brand by the quality of their experience across a proliferation of touch points, let it be the traffic source or the device they are logging in. It might be a mobile, it might be a desktop, etc. And what the brands are making an effort to infuse elements of personalization on those elements as well. And they will do much better in the near future if they implement those elements on their web page as well. So if we can go to the next slides, where I'll compare where we are in travel compared to proper e-commerce company. What I mean by proper e-commerce company is take any brand you do shop online and just compare your hotel brand to them. So when we talk about the multi-channel sales as an e-commerce paradigm, is we have the manufacturer, the wholesaler, the retailer, and the customer itself. So if we just compare this to the travel sector, of course, the manufacturer is the hotel, wholesaler they exist, and retailer is the travel agents or the OTAs, and the customer is the endpoint here. So as you can see, I have put some numbers there, which is the average commission you pay to those intermediaries to reach the customer. But for us, commission is one point, is a very significant point regarding your profitability, etc. But the more important point is the touch point, how many layers of touch points you have with your customer by using lots of intermediaries itself. The OTAs, when they started in 2000s, they basically removed one layer. So that's why they were so popular, etc. But now, after post-COVID, we need to, I believe that we need to change the paradigm. And as a company, our motto is to make the hoteliers close to their guests as possible. So we're going to talk about right now the 4 website truths to make those changes necessary in the post-COVID world. If I can go to the next slide. So our first truth is, as I mentioned, everybody knows those truths, but unfortunately nobody actions upon, is every visitor is after something different. What do I mean by that? We have on the left side, Peter, who is from Germany, and he's looking for a business trip to Barcelona. And I have on the other side, Claire from France, and she's searching for a holiday trip with her family to the Barcelona. And the next slide, where now I'm going to talk about their customer journey. Both Peter and Claire, they go to a search engine, let it be Bing or Google or whatever, and they search for Barcelona hotels, and they look at their options via the search engine, and they have both decided to land on an imaginary hotel. I mean, the name says something, but V Hotels. When they land in the hotel and they land in the landing web page, as we have discussed, that Peter is from Germany and he has an iPhone. It's his first visit to Barcelona. It's a business trip on a weekday, and he's one person, and he's more looking on the parking info because he's going to rent a car when he lands in Barcelona. On the other side, we have the Claire, 2 adults and 2 kids, a significantly longer length of stay, 7 nights, looking at high season, and more concerned about room types, how she can accommodate her kids when she's there, and she's logging from Chromebook and France. So the question we need to ask ourselves, as we know that those 2 guests are completely different, one is business guest and the other is family, why are we displaying the same landing page to these guests as well? So if I can go to the next slide, Daria. And as we know, when we are running a hotel, we are getting traffic from all of the sources that we are unfortunately trying to attribute and without any chance, and we are getting traffic from all over the world through all the channels. So once they land on our page, we know the visitor's characteristics and behavior. However, what we are lacking, unlike e-commerce site, is we are not personalizing the customer journey. Hence, we are complaining that we are not getting a direct booking, and OTAs are getting a huge share of our booking. That is not a surprise right now, because once, from similar to the previous example, once they land on our page, they are not finding the relevant information, although they have defined their searches as a family or a solo or a couple or a businessman, etc. If I can go to the next slide. And our second truth today will be that travelers do not read the travel pages. we had made a small poll on LinkedIn before this. Like we have asked people how much is average session time in Europe per web page, and half of the people answered correctly. So according to a study in 2019, across all the travel sites in Europe, the average session time was 2 minutes 46 seconds. So what does it tell us? The travelers do spend very, very short time on our web page. They may glance at some text or skip through some images and click on a web page or two, but the vast majority of our website remain unexploited. So on the right side, you might see a confusing graph, and I apologize for that, but that's an incredible study made by one of the scientists that shows us for every 100 word we put extra on our web page, we are increasing our session time by 4.4 seconds. So Jacob Nielsen ran this study showing that they only spent 4.4 seconds. However, given all of this, if you combine all the independent and the chains itself, what it shows us that on average, you just have 15 seconds to keep a traveler's attention when they click onto your website. And in those 15 seconds, you have to present the right message to the right person, so your prospective customer will consider booking with you. And one of the most important parts of the web page is what we call CTA, or call to action. A CTA can drive people to book on your web page, or you can easily tell them to go somewhere else and book somewhere else. And in a call to action, it is quite important, what we have seen, to use action words and create some urgency or scarcity and minimize risks and focus on the value you bring and highlight the guests, because nobody wants to land on a web page and not find the information they need. So what we prefer as a action point for all the hoteliers right now is stop burying all the unique selling points in massive text blocks that you have to click 3 or 4 times to find. Just imagine the COVID travel information you're displaying on your web page right now. It is one of the first things that the people will look right now, but they would need to have a couple of clicks to get this information. And keep it short, swift, and after the point. You don't need to have a page about COVID for 3 pages long, you know? And if we can go to the next slide. And booking a holiday, that's our third truth, is the ultimate fear of missing out experience. It is not, the people know that it is scarce, especially the last minute bookings. So how I can visualize this year with COVID, we know that many more consumers have experienced genuine scarcity. So if you can click on once, what we have seen in our shelves pre-COVID like this, and after COVID, we have the lines with the toilet papers. I mean, we are all laughing, but we are really jealous of those toilet papers because we want our rooms to be toilet papers as well. So the people queue for them. And as you know, the things we took for granted, especially after COVID occurred, like a flour or toilet paper, were suddenly hard to get rid of. And fear of losing out caused people to stockpile and buy quickly before things ran out. So for our industry, the travel industry, we need to be quite careful in how we use this heightened sense of scarcity, because there is a very fine line between helping people to access our products and services when they need them and being seen as pushy and very pressurizing as well. The point is, with so much choice in the market right now and so many decisions to be made on price, location, quality, and space, the current consumer, are relying on mental shortcuts to make their decisions. And when they are in doubt, they do use reviews to help them make decisions, and they do look at price and design as a signal of hotel quality. And instead of making a pros and cons, They form an emotional connection with the images in the photo gallery wherever they find it, or the tone of the voice in the website. So to combining to the first point, we need to have an engaging story for each guest on our web page. And if we can go to the next slide, our toilet paper experience in the previous slide reflects in travel sector like this. We have on the right side the hotel OTA website like Booking.com, which we already know, who is incredible using on this all the scarcity tools. And on the right side, we have the hotel web page, where the pure aim is to have a wonderful design, but it's a very dry experience. So as we all use Booking.com, when you land on Booking.com, you can see how many people are looking at the hotel, and if they use very good pressurizing technologies, how many people book the hotel, and they make sure that you don't leave without booking. If you leave without booking, you all know how much you get spammed by Booking.com. Book this hotel, the price is going to increase, etc. And on the right side, we have a hotel which has made a nice design, in their opinion, but the design is not everything. So they have no technological investments, and they have a very static content that is every time you enter the landing page, it's the same, etc. And they have lack of persuasion and incentive to book. And as a consequence, and it's harder to book, you need to have many layers of clicks. The customer journey is much longer and much more unpleasant. And as a consequence, we get more bookings from OTAs, and the OTAs have much higher conversion rate than our own web page. And hopefully nobody in this room has such a web page, by the way. If we can go to the next slide. Our next point, truth, is booking a hotel is hard. We all know that our average session times are getting lower and lower across the industry because the choices are much more. So this is a study done by Statista in 2019, average minutes spent per person per month on travel sites. As you know, we in UK, we love to dream about going holidays because everything is closed, but it was the same before COVID as well. So average person in UK spent more than an hour per month on traveler sites. That might be a travel agent, OTA, or a blog, etc., etc. And as you can see, the other countries as well. So creating a perfect holiday for anyone takes time. That's why UK travelers, before COVID, they used to visit 38 sites, different sites, over 5 weeks of time before they make the booking. And right now, according to Amadeus, post-COVID, that has increased to 51 sites over 5 weeks. And with such a lengthy purchase journey, it is essential that you're making easy for the visitor to move along the research phase. And to put it more simply, if you're not using the personalization enough, you're going to be starting from scratch with every interaction you're going to have the guest, because the guests will have the same journey all the time. And at the end, they're going to just leave and book somewhere else. And the next slide, please. This is where it gets quite interesting. If anyone hasn't seen this study, this is a study, extensive study done by Google. So how did the customer journey or customer behavior change after COVID? So I'm gonna, that is a webinar talk in itself as well. So I'm gonna try to make it as brief as possible. We all get exposed to a million things when we surf to the internet. Even when we don't surf to the internet, we get exposed to a million things. So there should be something that triggers us to start exploring those things. So outside travel world, if I get exposed to something, when I get triggered and I started searching for it, it might be an article in Wikipedia, and then after I explore it, I start evaluating, and on my evaluation stage, I either decide to purchase or I deemed it not necessary, and I go back to exploration and even to triggering stage. So there is a famous analogy used to describe how reason and emotion interact when we are making decisions. There is a professor of psychology at New York University called Jonathan Haidt, and he likens the relationship to that between an elephant and its rider. So the rider is notionally in charge when he rides the elephant, etc., etc. But when he's riding the elephant hears some noises around, and he just turns around and goes somewhere else. And when the journey ends, they ask the rider what happened. He's basically at that stage, he doesn't know what happened, but he doesn't know what instincts drew the elephant to that point, but he's just telling us a story which is which they call it post-rationalization. And what we are aiming to do here is, once we trigger the guest, because the guest will be exposed to your hotel as well, how can we shorten the stage between exploration and evaluation, and eventually making it to a purchase stage as well? If you can click once as well. So having said that, this is a graph from DH, which basically analyzed all the channels from 2014 to 2018, is percentage of revenue canceled before arrival. As you can see on the good side as well, as a website, we have a very, very low cancellation rate compared to booking.com. Just to let you know, this is on the books revenue cancellation. So that means that if €100 booking is made on booking.com in total in a month, 49% of this €100, 49.98 euro has been cancelled. Compared to the web page, it's €18. We do have lower cancellation, but as we all complain, we do have very, very lower conversion as well. And the money we are making on our web page is not comparable to the booking.com. And if you can go to the next slide, I'm gonna run through. And to summarize everything, the snapshot of a real traveler's decision-making journey is not as easy as we think it is. That's another study by Google. So you can meet Kendra here, sitting on her suitcase. She's a single mother of 3 who travels both for business and pleasure. And in a 5-month period, she planned business trips to Amarillo, Kerrville, Texas, and while also exploring vacation destinations like in San Antonio, Whistler, and Puerto Rico. And over 5 months, Kendra had 700 digital travel touchpoints. As you can see on the bottom right, she has interacted like 14% with the hotel provider, with the OTAs as well, credit card rewards. So the people are seeking information from all the sources they possibly can. And the next slide, if it's possible. And for us, the best incentive is for all the hoteliers is higher profitability and being closer to the guest for any cross-sell and upsell events. As you can see in the graph, again by DH, looking at all the different channels for average reservation value per year, hotel website direct is significantly higher than any other channel you want. So to sum it up, all our point is once you're closer to guests, you can have the chance to upsell and cross-sell even after they book something, or if they don't book, you hold enough data for about them so that you can convince them to book in their next visits. And the next slide. And how you need to click Victoria all the time. So how we understand value basically is currently most of the sites are on basic and static. You welcome, dry experience, they go to the booking engine, most probably they don't book, they repeat the thing, etc. And once we start localizing it, then it comes events, which unfortunately doesn't exist right now. And then we drive urgency as per the methods that OTAs use, and we look at the geo-market differentiation as well. So we can target specific markets and show automated messaging to them. If you have a hotel in Barcelona, a solo or businessman might see a different message than the family itself. And then it gets all automated. And as we know that mobile is increasing, like more than 50% of the Disney millennia are searching for something. So if you recall, the exploration stage, they're exploring via mobile, and we can make this platform compatible with everything as well. And then it comes to audience gap tagging and tactical promotions. And most importantly, it is the data insights. And if you can go to the next slide. And now you have all your Oscar. So to sum it up, so after COVID, we all know the experiential travel trend, the long path of purchase, and the abundance of choice, and the rising consumer expectations, all of these become much bigger challenges for hotels that do not personalize. And as a result, the risk of being squeezed out in the marketplace increases. And with so much more choice open to consumers, travel brands face a race against the clock, I believe, to fill hotels and sustain and or increase the ADR, hopefully. And this means that they're under even more pressure right now to drive success from their website and marketing. And if your brand is feeling this pressure and is yet to invest in personalization, you might be missing a couple of tricks here. I will, if you can go to next slides, I would like to thank everyone. And if you want to know how it might look for you, for your web page, a personalized web page, you have my contact information here. And I will, if there is any question, I can take it now, or I will leave the floor to Patricia.
Thank you, Baris. What an interesting presentation. I really learned a lot, so thank you. It's been really, really interesting. I'm going to be sharing just a presentation as well. I'm going to be flying around. So I'm going to be talking about the B2B distribution. We were talking about diversifying distribution. And what I take from Baris is this customer-centric, being customer close every time, closer, because as Baris explained, the customer journey is different from one family to an independent traveler. And somehow we need to replicate that methodology to the B2B distribution, which sounds quite difficult, but I'm sure we can make it. So my name is Patricia Rosselló. I'm the CEO of Roibos. Roibos is a technology platform. We are a marketplace that connects hotels with the B2B distribution, with wholesalers, tour operators, retailers, etc. So we are on the B2B distribution. Baris was focusing on the B2C. So we made a poll earlier, and these were the results. The question was, in what areas, if any, are you considering changes in your distribution strategy post-COVID? So B2C was 6%, B2B strategy only 19%, or both was 75%. And as explained from Baris, of course, you have to do some changes in the B2C. The B2C has become extremely flexible. We all know about the flexibility on the cancellation. You have to change who you target into because the market has a slightly changed, who you want to attract to your hotel. But when it comes to the B2B distribution, we always left it to the travel operators. So how are we going to control our customers through a third party? So, but the reality is that the hoteliers are adapting to the new era by adopting a more efficient and more cost-effective B2B distribution. They need to be closer to the client. The stakeholders have changed. They used to contract with different travel operators, OTAs, wholesalers, but the reality is that those operators post-COVID, the situation has also changed. The client situation has changed, but also the situation of the travel operators, the stakeholders have also changed. Some of the operators have significantly reduced the number of staff. Some of the travel agencies have to close down offices or branches. They have less contracted resources. People have to go on furlough, so there are less resources out there. They have been forced to move forward to more efficient, more digitalized environments that perhaps they were more manual. They have to straight away move forward, and that takes time. So contractors have not been able to go overseas and sit with the hotels and sign the different contracts. So how are the hoteliers adapting to this new reality where the travel agencies have changed, their situation have changed, some of the contacts that we were used to are not there anymore. So how do we carry on selling through the B2B distribution if things have also changed for our B2B intermediaries? But do not expect that the B2B spectrum will remain unchanged, because that's an utopia. Everything after COVID has changed, and also the B2B distribution has changed. Some of the traditional tour operators, for whatever reason, even for the pandemic, might not be able to fly to certain destinations. So what do I do if I'm a hotel and the distributor that used to sell my property on the B2B distribution segment is not there anymore for this season? How do I find alternative channels to distribute? And I need to do it fast, because of course, you know, the reality is that the decisions are being made today for tomorrow. I mean, the German market, for instance, decided that we are opening this week or this Easter for the Balearics. The UK market will only open in May. So how do I adjust to all these situations in my B2B distribution? So the reality is that the B2B world has really changed, and hotels need to be really aware and of this new situation and make decisions. So if I'm a hotelier, what should I be seeking in my B2B distribution? What should I really be looking for when deciding towards who I'm going to be distributing and what channels of my B2B distribution I'm going to be using? The first one is a wider range of distributors. The fact that we are in a pandemic, and some of the distributors that I used to use in the past, some of the travel agencies, their situation had changed. I cannot expect that they will deliver the same amount of bookings or customers that they brought different years. So automatically widen your spectrum of distributors. If the old days where one hotel, especially in the leisure segment, in the vacational leisure segment, where the bed banks or tour operators used to guarantee big chunks of the hotel, big allotments, 50 rooms, 30 rooms for the specific client, these things have changed. We're not going to find anymore that sort of tour operators today or agencies who want to secure those amount of rooms. And by the way, if I was a hotel, I would be hesitating if those commitments, if they were going to do it, they're going to be filled up, because the reality is that we don't know. We live in a world of uncertainty. So under uncertainty, I think the best is to widen the range of distributors. In the B2B distribution, up until now, what we've always seen is how the intermediaries were taking over the control of the hotels. So the intermediaries were deciding who they are reselling to or selling to, what type of content of my hotel I want to display, what type of description of photographies or images they want to display. So the hotels had lost in the B2B distribution the control of their own content, the control on their rates. Someone else was doing that on their behalf. So I think if I'm a hotel, I will be really looking for to recover the full control of my content, to recover the full control of my rates, and decide who I want to work with, how I want to work, and what type of rates they want to work. I want to give them. So the hotels need and want and should be seeking to recover full control of its content and rates. If we think on the B2B distribution over the years, they tend to be very mixed up. Some distributors buy from the other distributor, and there are too many intermediaries. If we think of the intermediary world in the distribution, you've got the tour operator might be buying from a wholesaler, the wholesaler from a DMC, the DMC, etc., etc. So there are lots of layers of markups. And then again, you know, it could be that the tour operator have a network of retail shops. The retail shops sell directly to the client, but the tour operator buys via from a DMC. So really, there are lots and lots and lots of layers of pricing there, which at the end of the day is making our holidays or our hotel stay more expensive when it gets to the consumer. So if I'm a hotel, what I want to be is closer to the consumer, as what Barry was explaining, and to be closer to the consumer, I would like to reduce the number of intermediaries. And that can only be done with technology. If we don't introduce or we find a marketplace, perhaps, that give us that technology to get closer to to reduce the number of intermediaries and get closer to the customer, then I will still have too many layers of intermediation, what at the end of the day is adding value to my holiday stay or to my accommodation. What else should I be looking for or seeking in my B2B distribution if I'm a hotel? Especially in these difficult times, I would like to reduce the time to market. If we think of contracting in the B2B distribution world, normally it's done one season for the following season or 1 year for the following year. But remember, this year, it's been blank. People have not been able to travel. So the contractors, the hotels have not been able to meet the contractors to contract the B2B distribution. So really, I haven't had time to see it, agree the pricing structure, if it was manual, etc., etc. So again, we want, or I want, if I'm a hotel, to reduce the time to market, and I will be looking for efficiencies in different models. I will be looking to have a good channel manager, a very good implemented PMS, and perhaps a good marketplace for the B2B distribution to make sure that I distribute as soon as I can my availability. Again, traditionally, very manual from the B2B world is avoid signing yearly contracts. We haven't been able to go out there and meet up with the contractors from the different operators, banks, wholesalers, OTAs. So there is no time to sign, and really I don't want the old days of signing manual contracts. If I'm going to be working with 30 operators or 30 travel agencies, I need to sit down with each of them, signing, loading, mapping, and all of that is time, money, resources, and in a year like this one, we don't have time as a hotel to invest all those resources in maintaining all those different channels, because there are lots of inefficiencies in the distribution, in the bid distribution area. And finally, if I'm a hotel, I want to avoid the payment hassles. I want to make sure that payment is not an issue. And in the B2B world, again, payment is part of the contracting. The payments can be late, sometimes invoices can be lost. So in the B2C world, then the client comes, pays before it arrives. But in the B2B, we have this extra layer of complexity, which is dealing with all the admin and the payments. Again, if I'm a hotel, I want to avoid any payment issues, because at the end of the day, it's costing me time, it's costing me money, it's costing me resources. So what I'm going to be looking for if I'm a hotel, it's a marketplace that avoids all these hassles, all these problems, like making sure that I'm paid. So what is the hotel looking for, or what are we presenting to the hotel? What we're presenting is a marketplace that allows the hotels to connect directly with the widest range of travel operators. You name it, OTAs, wholesalers, tour operators, travel agencies, around the world efficiently and without intermediaries, and every single transaction to be secured with a virtual credit card. So that's the proposal that I think the model or the travel industry, when it comes to the B2B distribution, is moving toward. The pandemic has to speed up the need to become more efficient in the distribution world. And I think the marketplace a marketplace of B2B distribution is the perfect place to reduce all the inefficiencies that we talked about earlier, and that if I'm a hotel, I would like to avoid what we discussed, signing contracts every year, having to deal with payment issues, etc., etc. I would like to be part of a marketplace, let's say Amazon, where I'm a distributor and I'm selling my hotels, and I've got a wide range of travel operators. I can decide who I want to who I want to work with, what type of commission I'm going to be giving them, what type of rates I'm going to be opening to them, and every time a booking is made, then I'm paid via a single payment virtual credit card. So this is the way the model of B2B distribution is moving towards. So and this is what we're doing in Roybos, right? The hotel signs only once with this marketplace, and distributes their rates automatically to all the agencies in the network that are part of this marketplace, and each booking is secured with a virtual credit card. So I think in this model of distribution, we need to be, or the hotels want and wish to look for more efficiencies towards the connectivity, reduce the number of resources, reduce the number of mapping. With one single ad load, they want to have the hotel on display. And as Barry was saying, all of this is to be closer to the customer, because we are, or the hotels want to be more customer centric, and by eliminating intermediaries, they can control and they can manage and they can service better the end consumer, who is the consumer that comes and stays at the hotel. So this is it for today. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I think Victoria will be checking on those questions, and perhaps she's got some extra questions prepared. And Barrett and I will be very happy to answer any questions about the diversification of the distribution world. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, feel free just to write them there in the Q&A or the chat. Cool. So there was just a question that came through. It says, what happens if we already had a contract in place with any of these B2B channels that you connect, and we establish a different commission directly?
With any marketplace, let's call it Amazon, or let's call it Roybos, or any marketplace, when you join the marketplace, you would set the terms and conditions of that marketplace. So if you have a direct contract with an operator outside the marketplace, the bookings made with that direct contract with that agency, that contract will apply. When you are receiving bookings inside this marketplace, then the terms and conditions of the marketplace apply. And the terms of and conditions of this marketplace, Roybos, for instance, say that payments need to be issued with a virtual credit card, and the hotels can collect the funds from 48 hours before departure. So if the booking arrives, let's say, with the direct contract with the travel operator, maybe the terms and conditions for payments are based on 30 days. And maybe the rates that you have signed are different. So the reality is, my suggestion is that if you've done already a channel manager integration, I would keep that relationship direct with that hotel, because you've already done the investment of connecting via a channel manager. But if you don't have yet a connectivity, then with that, open up into a marketplace, connect as many as the travel operators that suit you, that you want to work, that fit with your strategy of your hotel, and work directly. But as I said, the terms and conditions of the marketplace will rule the bookings made through the marketplace, and the bookings made directly with the agent will go with the contract that you sign directly with the agent. Hi, Giuseppe. I can see, Victoria, another question there. Giuseppe says, do you connect directly to hotels, or you go through Juniper, Travelgate, and so on? No, the hotels join the marketplace, the Roybos marketplace, and they can sign up, the same that they do in booking.com. You join your own hotel and you register your hotel and you load everything. So you anytime that you change the images, anytime you change the description, it's live. So automatically the 40, 50, 100 travel operators that we've got already sign up into the marketplace, they can see those changes. So the changes are live. You don't necessarily need to change agent by agent, sending an email like these are the new photos, these are the new building work that I've done this year or refurbishment, etc. Everything is on one place. You only update one place and that place is shared with everybody, including the rates. The rates, you can load them, the same that you do in booking.com, you can load them directly into the marketplace or you can load them via your channel manager. So I hope I answered that question.
And I think there was just another question that came through as well. Do you consider also a similar solution for the corporate market as well as the leisure market?
This marketplace is meant to work for everything, both leisure, corporate. So I don't see a problem why you shouldn't find what you're looking for if you're corporate. If the hotel, as Barry's was saying, the hotel is doing a strategy to go more for corporate and is trying to capture that market, then it will be selecting the travel operators that focusing better in the corporate world. And if it's looking for families, because its hotel is catering better for families, I'm sure the hotel will be selecting maybe more traditional tour operators, let's say TUI or Jet2 Holidays, which are perhaps catering more for the families and independents than the corporate world.
Perfect. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to keep sending them through. Otherwise, what we'll do is after this session, we'll be sending the recording out. But I'm sure if you have any other questions that both Boris and Patricia will be happy to answer those for you after the webinar as well. We'll just give it another minute just to see if there's any other questions.
Victoria, if I had to recap, was that after or with COVID, everybody needs to do their homework, right? And reshape the strategies, both B2B and B2C, and make sure that they can capture the customer. Barry, do you agree? You've got the mic.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for attending the webinar today. Really appreciate you all joining, and thank you to everybody who sent through a question as well. And yeah, any last words, guys?
Yes. I would like to all the people that are listening to us. It's been a long year, a difficult year. Perhaps now it's a year that we were locked down and closed down, but we can see already green shoots out there, and we need to remain positive, do the homework, because we can see the traffic coming. Everything is going to be in no time, and some of my friends, they always say, traveling is going to be like corking a bottle of champagne. When it explodes, it's really going to be out there, and I'm very positive that it's going to be that effect. So let's do the homework. Let's get all our distribution position, B2B, B2C, and good luck and all the best to everybody. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Baris.
Yeah, same for me as well. We can now see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it is near. I know that both as a hotelier and as a person, we are all got bored. So, I mean, in the last year, there are only 2 doors I entered in my life, my house door and the supermarket door. So, yeah, we are trying to stay insane, everyone, but we are going to get through this. And as Patricia said, traffic is coming. The people are eager to travel. And once they open the gate, it's going to be a mass migration. Yeah, they are going to travel.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And yeah, any other questions, just feel free to send them through to any of us, and we'll get back in touch with you as well. But have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.